Okay, hello Dojo community. Thank you so much for joining me today and watching this Q&A for May 2021. We have a lot of good questions that people wrote in on YouTube, Facebook, emails, all kinds of different things here. Hopefully your question is answered. If not, maybe the questions that were asked will be pertinent to your training. Let's start right with a question from Melvit Dask. Melvit asked about our sword drawing that's coming up this month. He or she says, I am not 18 years old. Can I still enter to win the draw if my parents are okay with it? Or do I have to wait 2 more years? Melvit, if you happen to win and you're under the age of 18, we'll work it out. If you win the sword drawing, we will work it out with your parents. As long as we have legal permission, you can win the sword, even at age 16. Your age shouldn't hold you back. If you're really passionate about martial arts and you want to learn, absolutely you can win the sword as long as we have permission so that we can't be sued if you did something wrong with it or something like that. Also, we cannot ship the sword to countries where it's illegal to own a sword. So make sure if you live in a country and look, it's not legal to have this particular thing here, don't bother entering, because we can't ship it to your country for liability reasons. But if you're in a country that can have a sword and you're not quite 18 but you really love the channel and you want to win, go for it. I started using a sword when I was like 7 years old, so I believe if you're mature enough and you'll take good care of it and you'll be responsible, of course at age 16, 17, you can win as well. That's a good question, Melvit. Thanks for asking. Kitty Gayami, what age do you need to be to go to a dojo? I would check, Kitty Gayami, with your particular school wherever you live. Some schools have a certain age restriction. We start around age 6 here for our youth program. We find that at age 4 and 5, we've tried several times, a lot of the kids just can't hold their attention span for more than 10 or 15 minutes. And there have been studies on this that I've researched where after 20 minutes, kids lose their attention. Our classes are an hour long, which is very long for youth students typically. So around age 6, something in the brain has developed enough where they can hold their attention, they can understand the concepts. At age 4 and 5, you barely know what martial arts is, you don't know about violence. We don't want to teach them about violence at that age. Somewhere around 6 or 7, brains can understand, look, I'm defending myself, I'm standing up to the bully, and they will be able to grasp some of the concepts that we teach here at the dojo. But check with your local dojo. The age restrictions are all over the place, and a lot of dojos sadly don't teach children. I don't agree with that because there are so many wonderful lessons in martial arts that you're not going to learn anywhere else, and you're not going to learn on a sport team that you will learn in a dojo, especially how to be tough, how to deal with pain, and how to be patient and earn things in your life, and get scratched up and punched in the face, and how to deal with that. They become tough, strong, independent individuals when you train in martial arts. And a lot of things nowadays don't teach that important lesson in how to get through life, which is very, very difficult. Good question. Pookie Fookie, I'm sorry, but I'm afraid to fight people. How do you deal with fear? That's a good question, Pookie. I don't know the answer. Everyone's different. I don't know your background, why you're afraid to fight. No one likes to fight. It's a horrible feeling. I've been in many fights over the years, especially when I was younger and dumb. Would look to back when I was 15 to 25, I was competing and doing all kinds of things and getting into fights at bars and just dumb things to test out my martial art ability back then when I really didn't know that much, but I was strong and quick and stupid. Getting into a fight is dumb. The highest level of martial arts is to talk your way out, to use humor to get your way out of a conflict. To avoid the conflict completely is like Jedi level. That's what you want to strive for. But if you're afraid to fight people, sometimes if you want to learn, go to a dojo and they'll help you overcome that fear. You're afraid of things that you're not sure of, and you're afraid of your own ability. But make sure that you stand up for yourself, because if you're always afraid to speak, and you actually started with the phrase, I'm sorry, don't always be sorry. Stand up for yourself, But how do I deal with fear? I don't know. I don't know the answer. Sticking up for yourself is important, but I'm afraid of all kinds of different things. You're not going to get me to go into the ocean and swim with the sharks around. I'm just not going to do it. I'm afraid of that. I'm afraid of many, many things. But the fear of fighting, that never goes away. It's a horrible feeling. You don't remember much about it. It's tunnel vision. Your training takes over and your muscle memory takes over. And it's not fun. It's full of adrenaline and bad things. At my age, because I've been through that stage in my life, or stages, I don't worry about fighting people anymore. But the fear, I don't know if that ever goes away. They say to face your fears, to run toward them. That's probably a good thing to try out. If you let fear take over your life and you don't do things in life or take chances or risks because you're afraid of everything, then you're going to live a very limited life. I would recommend that you find out why you're afraid and try to find the root cause and then run toward it and attack it back. Sensei Norcross, when did you start teaching? Did you take a course on how to instruct? No, I started teaching in 1987 when I was getting my Shodan in Uechi-Ryu Karate. I was a horrible teacher back then, of course, because I didn't know anything. I was 17 years old. My instructor just told me to start teaching a youth class, and that's what I did. Started to teach the kids because they're way harder than adults to teach. If you want to be a good teacher, you teach youth, who you have to be super on the ball about responding to each one of their needs. Teaching adults is much, much easier. It scares the heck out of people to teach because it's public speaking, and that's one of the number one things that we're all afraid of, is to speak in front of people. Death is probably number two. But as far as instructing, I've been doing it forever. And you just learn. You're thrown into the lion's den, so to speak. Yes, I have packets and packets on how to teach, tips on teaching, how to instruct positively versus negatively. There's a whole syllabus about that. It's like a college degree in teaching. But the best way to teach is experience, and you're not going to be good when you start. I do highly recommend that when you start to teach, you record your classes and watch them back and see the mistakes that you make. But I started around age 17 teaching, and I'm 51 now, so I don't know how many years that is, but a long, long time. And I've been teaching full time. I'm not talking teaching a seminar every 6 months or even every month. I'm teaching 5 days a week. So I have countless hours of teaching, way more than my instructors, because I do it full time and I run and own the school on the mat constantly. But it's something you can never master. There's no such thing as mastery, in my opinion. You get better and better at your craft, whatever your craft is, or your job, whatever you do as a parent, as a son and daughter. You get better over time, year after year, repetitive experience, making mistakes a million times, trying to fix them and sharpen our skills as best we can, and knowing that we're always going to be a student first. To be a good teacher, you have to be a student first. You never want to stop the learning process. In my opinion, if you stop learning, you are pretty much dead, and you should stop training. If you've lost the practice and the mojo and the passion for martial arts, you should definitely not be trying to pass it on to the next generation, because people will see right through that facade. They will see that you're not really passionate and that you're just doing it, whether it's for a paycheck or because you have no other skill set. They'll see through that fakeness and they'll quit. So if you are a teacher, there's no better way to start than to hop on the mat and just start learning. Do you have a favorite weapon? I do not. I don't believe in picking a favorite weapon. I have weapons that I prefer, weapons that I feel that I'm more competent with, but I love all kinds of weapons. And sometimes you get a critique like, why would you bother using a sword? You guys have heard me talk about this. It's such an idiotic thing to say. Weapons are part of Bujitsu. You can't understand martial arts if you don't train in weaponry. Many of the martial arts from China and Japan were based off of fighting on a battlefield, not a sport or a ring, but life and death with a spear or a sword or a bow and arrow. Yes, if I'm going to call myself a legitimate martial artist of any ilk, I need to really make sure I understand weapons, how they work. They are force multipliers, and if I need to use a sword or a pen or a firearm, I have to open myself up to learning how to use those things. Not become an expert at it. You can, but just to understand how the weapon works is so important. You have bladed weapons, you have blunt weapons, projectiles, soft, flexible weapons, cyber weapons, mental weapons, strategy. All of these things are a circle of Budo that I feel compelled to understand or at least have some experience with. If someone throws me a cell phone to hit someone with, to defend myself, or if they throw me a mouse or a book or whatever it is, a gun, a shotgun, a rifle, I need to know something about that to give myself the advantage of survival. If you're just saying that weapons training is dumb, you clearly don't train in martial arts and you don't have experience, because no legitimate martial artist would ever ask that question. They would not be closed-minded or lazy or critical if they were actually doing it. If they were training at their dojo 4 or 5 days a week, they would not have the time to ask that type of question. It's okay to ask, but don't pick a favorite weapon, because once you do that, when someone hands you a weapon you don't like, you're going to shut your mind off. You're not going to want to learn techniques or understand and get into the depth of the weapon and why the technique is this way versus that way. Try not to pick a favorite weapon. Love them all. They can all save your life. Last week we did the drawing for the lion sword. Here's a photo. He's a good student of ours. He just started several months ago, but he won the lion sword, and I hope he enjoys that. We give away things all the time here at the dojo and online. That's my opinion on life. Look, most of the things that I collect just sit and collect dust. I mean, I use them all the time, but give stuff away. I'm getting older. I'm not going to be on the earth much longer. Give it away. Give it away. Don't hold on to things. If it brings joy to someone younger than you, give it away. Give that stuff away, or give it to a charity, clothing, whatever it might be that's sitting in our closet and collecting dust. What's the point of owning it? If I've cherished it long enough and it's just sitting on a rack somewhere, give it away. Let that be the inspiration for the next generation to get into the martial arts, or wear that old leather jacket that's sitting in your closet, or the old dress that you don't wear. Whatever it might be, give it away. Give your books away. Give your money away. It's cyclical. It comes back again. But the joy and the satisfaction of giving something to someone else that doesn't have it is that's what life is about, is giving stuff away. Were the ninja separate from samurai? No, they were one and the same. Ninjutsu is a subset of samurai bujutsu, and it involves different skill sets in the martial arts. You can think of the CIA as part of the government. Ninja were samurai. They were not separate from them. They were employed by samurai to do certain things. They were a subset of martial skills. Not all samurai did ninjutsu, of course. It's just like you have pieces of the military, the Army, the Navy, Air Force, Marines. They all do different functions within the military structure. And that's how ninja or ninjutsu was employed back then. Do you get discouraged if students leave your dojo? Not at all. I have become numb to that fact, and every martial art teacher who's been around for 10 years or more, even 5, knows that you can't worry if students quit. Many students that come in any dojo, I talk with my friends from all over the world, all different martial arts styles and dojos and gyms and you name it, all have the same exact story. New student comes in. If you vest too much interest, you'll be disappointed when they leave, for whatever reason. When students come in our dojo, we're kind to them. We treat them with respect like everybody else. They do the same thing as everyone else. And if they leave after a month or two, you don't press your nose against the door looking for them. You might send an email, hey, we miss you, we hope you come back, but that's as far as it goes. All people will end up quitting the martial arts at some point. Only like 1 in 500 will ever make it to black belt. Knowing those odds as a teacher, again, you treat everyone equally, but you know that most are just going to disappear. Martial arts is unbelievably, excuse my language, goddamn tough. Excuse that language. I don't like to swear in any of my videos, but It is unbelievably hard on your body, your mind, your spirit. Most people cannot endure it. They do not have the patience. They do not have the fortitude to stick with the pain, the ups and downs of training, the constant disappointments, the testing process, the sadness you go through when your best friend that you've been training with for 3 years quits at brown belt. These are things that only the toughest, really, I mean this literally, warriors in life will be able to endure. First degree black belt is not an easy accomplishment. 90% of people will not last. They will quit at the first or second colored belt, or the level when it gets really difficult, when you're challenged and you're forced to get out of your comfort zone when we spar and stuff. These are things over time, or things in life pull you away. Not as an excuse, but you might have to move. You lose your job. It has nothing to do with the dojo itself, but you lose your job and you can't afford the training. You just can't afford it. You have children. You get into a relationship where the other person in the relationship is jealous and envious of your time, and they're selfish and they want you around them, so they use mind games to push you out of the training or to manipulate you. These things happen constantly. You go away to college. Oh gosh, I do get upset when my best students and coaches and people that I employ go away to college, but I'm happy for them. I'm excited. It's a great chapter in their life, and I'm like, oh, can't you go to college down the street so we can keep you working here? And I don't want you to leave when you're age 18. I want you to stay till you're 100 because you have such talent in the martial arts, and I've seen you grow over the last 6 or 7 years from a little child all the way to this powerful adult who's getting ready to go out into the next chapter. And I love it when they come back from school and they tell me about their journeys in college and what they're going through, and they come back to the dojo, which is like a home. Boy, is that hard. But most people will quit. So when people are discouraged and they leave, I give them my blessing and I wish them the best in life, and I usually don't think about it after that. You can't. If you think about it after, you're going to wreck your life and be stressed out. Saw a guy arguing on where to put your hands on the katana. Do you put them wide? Do you put them near? Does it matter for power? Every school has different thoughts on this. My opinion from my 6 teachers. Yes, 6. I have 6 Kenjutsu teachers. Left hand at the bottom. Nothing under here. Nothing under here. If I'm here on my sword, it's not wrong to do, but this 4 or 5 inches here is what we call dead wood or dead space. Why would I want to keep this behind my hand when it should be so that my sword becomes longer toward my opponent? If I put my hand here, I am not utilizing the full suka handle. Therefore, when my hands are up here, look at all that wasted distance between you and the opponent. I've never had a teacher say put your hand there or there. Always hands separate apart. You want this space between your hands here. The longer the better. This space here on the handle allows movement of your wrists, arms, and hands, and allows the sword to change angle and distance and timing better. The closer my hands become, the structure of my bones now makes my arms and wrists move more, which in armor would completely impede you. If you've ever worn Yoroi armor and done sword work, which I have many times, it's completely different than being undressed like this. If your arms are free, you have more movement, but the closer my hands are, I am impeding my movement. It is bad technique in my opinion. Farther apart your hands are, diagonal grip. You don't want a baseball grip. Baseball grip is here. How you get a diagonal grip is you literally take the sword this way and then you relax it so that the blade goes down. Now the sword is diagonal in my palms this way, like a golf club. The webbing of your hand is at the top of the suka handle. The webbing is here. If it's a baseball grip, the webbing is now over here, and see the shape here? It's not round, is it? It's oval. And this is telling you where to put your hands. Even the way that's wrapped is giving you physical guidelines that it's here. You want space between the tsuba guard and your hand as well, so you don't chafe and scrape yourself. You see people like this, that's incorrect. First of all, I've just limited the way the sword can move because it's stuck here. When I go down the handle, now the sword is free to move and manipulate how I need to depending on the kamae that you're in. This is the way to do it. Diagonal, hands far apart. This sitting here so you can get rotation and movement. You can push and throw the sword at the opponent. It keeps it from being disarmed better. So it's held here and here. These fingers are held very lightly. Finger and thumb, the three fingers at the most do most of the work. Don't stick your fingers out. They'll get cut off. I've had my fingers, as you can see, scarred and hit from swords because I tried to look cool and have my fingers out like I was doing kuji or something. Don't do that. Keep them in. Keep them in and guarded well. It was a good question, though. But where you put your hands will definitely change the manipulation of the blade. Keep them loose. Keep them far apart. Keep them diagonal. And I'm telling you, it makes the sword easier to use. That's a really good question. Really good question. And a lot of people, because they've never had the experience of a sword teacher, don't know even how to hold the katana. There you go. How many hand strikes are there in ninjutsu? There are bunches. We're working this week or this year on the Hokenjuroppo, the 16 treasured fists of the ninja. Last night in class we did the Shitan Ken, which is using your fingers, how to poke eyes and things, how to grab and hook with your fingers. We worked on the Shishiken, the hooking pinky here, which is like needling into their eye. There was a technique we did where the hook punch is coming in and you move in and block, grab their head and you jab this into their eyeball or their gums or their nostril and try to control the person. Basically, the principle of that last night in class was how to use your fingers to strike, whether it's using all five like a beak or using one into the throat, grabbing the neck with these two fingers, poking someone's eye out. It has to be against soft targets, obviously. But this is the beauty of our martial art, is it's endless. You can't possibly know all of these strikes and master them. There are so many. The Gyokaku, Shishinken, Shuken, Sanshitan Ken, three-finger strike. There's dozens of them. And then once you think you know one, say you're working on it for an hour, well, the next week it goes away and you work on another type of strike. We're going right down the chart of the Tenchi-Jin chart, going through all these different strikes, all the different kicks. And then we go into the Kyusho, the weak points of the body. It is endless. That's why I love this stuff so much. You can't possibly know it all. But getting back to the question, how many are there? There are dozens of different strikes that we work on in class every single day. Too many to even mention here. Dozens and dozens. I have pages and pages of notes of diagrams of strikes and things. You only need about 6 good kicks and 6 good punches, but to know all of these different ways of using the human body is amazing. Thanos 2002. Thanos, what are you reading lately? I am looking at this book that I got from Duncan Mitchell called Budo Taijutsu. It's good. I like it. It's another one of my reference books. I have 6 different reference books that I use every day, and this is another one I added to the collection. This is a book, Budo Taijutsu by Duncan Mitchell, and it has a lot of good diagrams in it. It's full of good pictures of different things, how to use the body, striking, throws, joint locks, chokes, ground stuff, rolling, weapons. In the back it's got all of the scroll techniques from the old times. So I often look at these. What I like about the way he did it is he put these in first person perspective. So if I'm looking at the technique Koku from the Gyokuryu, he puts like the opponent attacks me with a right punch to the face. I parry the attack with my left hand, follow up with a shito. Opponent goes to kick. I kick up from below with my left foot. So he's talking about it from his perspective. Often the books talk about a third person point of view, and it can be very confusing. I love how he changed it into, when you're reading the book, it's how you're doing the technique, and it really makes it easy for students to learn. Of course, the pictures are always good. Anytime you have pictures for those who are impaired with learning and you can see a picture, it really does help. Of course, a picture is not movement. You can't learn a lot from a book. But as a reference book, I'm reading this lately and seeing different ways of doing things. And then I cross-reference it with other teachers and other books and the Grandmaster's book and things like that. And of course, nobody agrees because of ego. People throw in their own 2 cents, or they say, this is the way my teacher taught me, so I don't want to do it the other way. I like to take multiple references and find the commonality in all of them and teach that principle, because this particular martial art which I study, we have more than one that we teach at this school. This is one of them, Budo Taijutsu, which is really rich and wonderful, but it's not always practical to modern day self-defense. You have to really know how to interpret these old katas and make it alive with modern attacks. It's wonderful, and you can see my notes here from the Hoken Judopo, which we were just working on last night in class. Here's one, I don't know what it is. This was working on Onikudaki, which is a shoulder lock, how to do a mote ura on the ground, how to do. And then here's the Gyokoryu, which we're working on tonight. We did Koku 2 weeks ago, we did Renyo last week. We did Danshu last night in black belt class. I was teaching, Monday night, I was teaching 4 different ways of doing Danshu from 4 different teachers, and how to apply it in a modern day fight where we do hook punches and clinching. How do you do Danshu from a grab? This bouncing or dancing hand, it's called, sometimes called bullet hand, a bullet fist. How to ricochet off and hit with multiple strikes within a millisecond. Love it. Tonight we're doing Gyakunagare, or also known as Sakanagare, which is an old way to flow and against the current, where someone's throwing kicks and punches, and how to move your body in diagonal movements and take control of their dead hand. And oh, it's so cool. It's so cool. Every day is a new adventure here at the dojo. Do pressure points work? Do pressure points work? On some people, yes. It's almost a DNA thing. Sometimes I use weak and pressure points on people, and it's useless. It doesn't work. I have a few that work on me, and sometimes they just tickle. Someone hits me somewhere or is pressing something, and it just makes me giggle and laugh because it's tickling me. There are things called kyusho, which are weak points of the body and anatomy, where you can break things, you can tear organs, you can get a reaction out of somebody by the way you strike a certain part of the body. It is not foolproof. If you get someone who's drugged up, drunk, wearing certain types of clothing or armor, it's not going to work. Pressure points are a force multiplier. They help, and you should know them. We should know them collectively as martial artists. You should know how to kick the knee to wreck the AC L and things like that, and how to destroy the patella and the kneecap. I should know where the weak bones of the body are. I should know how to press into the neck to make someone cough or wince in pain, or to get them to throw them. I should know how to strike the inside of the thigh to do a proper uchimata. There are things that we should know about the skeletal structure, how to break it down, this koppojitsu. All important things to know. If, in my opinion, you want to be a good martial artist, you need to know anatomy. You need to know the skeletal structure, the bone structures, the ligaments, how to hyperextend things and poke eyes out and gross things like that are part of reality-based martial arts. Do pressure points work? It depends. Not always. Don't rely on them. Never. See them as a bonus to your training. Cool things, but it's not going to look like a movie ever. Reality-based martial arts is horrible. It is stressful. It is nothing like your technique will look. But if you have the muscle memory from hundreds and thousands of hours of training on the mat, it will take care of you when the crap hits the fan. Is strength or flexibility more important for long-term training? It's a great question. Both are important, and it really depends on where you are in your life and your training. When I was much, much, much younger, strength was everything. Lifting weights, going to the gym. Flexibility was important. Can I do a full split? Can I do a butterfly stretch and lean forward and touch my nose to my foot? My opinion is, as I get older, is flexibility is more important than strength. But there will be times in your training where they will change. It's constantly changing. If you are 70 years old and you've lost most of your strength, When you're at age 15 or 20 and you can do these high ukemi falls and you can recover quickly with the way your cell structure is regenerating, it's very different than when you're 50 and the testosterone and estrogen and things are leaving your body naturally, and you try to supplement them as best you can with good foods, vitamins, whatever it might be. But your body is meant to break down and die. From birth, it is a reality that you will only recycle or build new cells a certain amount of times, and the telomeres are changing, and you will break down and die. It is the nature of life. Therefore, at each stage of life, strength and flexibility will change in your mind, and they'll be focused at different age groups. When you're in your 20s, go for the strength, the big muscle building. I still lift weights. I have a pair of barbells and dumbbells right over there that I use as much as I can, constantly trying to be flexible for my body size and my age. Always stretching in class. We do that almost every night. We stretch before class starts because we don't want to injure ourselves, and you want to be able to do the movements. If you can't kick beyond your waist, you need to work your body so that you can do that. If you can't bang out 20 push-ups, how can you expect to push a bad guy off of you if you can't even push yourself off of the mat? There are fundamental movements that, as a martial artist, we need to be able to perform at any age, any gender, any weight, any height. These are things we need to be able to do to function as a martial artist, or if you want to protect yourself. However, if you're age 75 and you want to do martial arts and you don't have the strength, and you're getting down on the floor and you're becoming flexible for who you are and your body type, great. That is the goal. The goal is not to look at a magazine cover or watch a martial art movie and say, I need to be as flexible as Jean-Claude Van Damme when he was 25, and you're 60. Ain't going to happen. But you can work toward that as an inspiration, and that's what it's all about. Can I have role models with strength and flexibility to inspire me to get down on the floor and get off the couch and do it? That's the answer there. I love your music, sir. Thank you very much. I have 13 of your CDs. Do you have a favorite song? And then someone else wrote, are you ever going to show us how you write or compose your music? Can you do a video about how you make a song? I actually have been thinking about that. Yes, I can do that. This channel is mostly about martial arts, but I have 4 albums of Japanese-based training music called Taiken, T-A-I-K-E-N, that I did years ago. And I'm just finishing up another album of music that will be out actually the end of this month. This new album is called Journey to Valinor, which is orchestral compositions I've been working on, i.e. in the spirit of the movies Lord of the Rings or Braveheart. They're instrumental compositions that I did this past year. There are 21 of those songs coming out. But I go all over the place. The Japanese phase that I went through with the Taiken 1 through 4 series, I think I did that, I don't know, mid-2000s, and the last album of Japanese music was about 6 or 7 years ago maybe. I don't have a favorite song because I do so many that I don't remember them. Once I finish a song, it's done, and I put it to rest and I move on to the next. And that's probably why I have 34 albums released out there right now. It's because I don't stop. So prolific, yes. Good, not necessarily. There's a lot of songs I hear that I did in the past that I'm like, oh, I don't like that at all. Or, you know, when you're the author of a song, all you hear are your mistakes. When you paint, all you see are your errors. When you compose, all you hear are the things you don't know, and you never feel good. I never feel like I've got it or that's the best song. The whole point of me composing and writing music and playing guitar and singing is because I know how bad I am, and I want to achieve that ultimate song, which you never really ever do. Once in a while, I'll hear something that I composed 15 years ago, and I'll be like, whoa, I like that. You never get used to the sound of your own voice. When I hear the cover songs of Good Old Days, the album I did last year, I cringe half the time. Even when getting a compliment, you're like, no, I don't like the sound of my own voice. I don't listen to my old albums. I don't ever put them on for fun because all I hear is mistakes, mistakes, could have done that better, should have done that better, should have used better equipment, should have hired an engineer instead of engineering it myself, should have taken time to set up the mics better on those drums, should have had a better guitar tone, should have played more notes in that guitar solo, whatever it might be. It's always your own worst critic. You guys know that. Whatever you do, no one beats ourselves up more than we do, right? So I don't have a favorite song. Yes, I will do a video because I think that'd be fun to show how a song is composed and how I put the parts together. I think that might interest some people, especially if it's kind of Japanese based. I will do that, I promise. Usually the song that I'm working on right now is my favorite. Let me tell you something I do enjoy is when you work on a part, whatever it might be, you are tired from it, because often when I get home from the dojo, which is about 8:30 at night, I'll have dinner with my girlfriend, we'll talk for a while, and then often I'll head into the studio till about 11 or 12. And that's when I compose or write music or work on things. When I come back the next day, and I've forgotten, I've slept and worked and done all kinds of things, and then you come back, you put your earphones on. You forget what you did, because at my age you forget everything. And you put these on and you're like, you push play and you're like, oh, what did I do? Where did I leave off? Do I have to delete this? And you put them on and you're like, oh, that's horrible. Delete. Do that all the time. Have to do that part over. But you got the practice in, or occasionally, once in a great while, you're like, oh, that's pretty good. Oh, yeah, that's a keeper. I like that. And therefore, you have a track down. And then you do 15 more tracks on top of it. That's the excitement of creating music. Those of you who are musicians know what I'm talking about. Those of you who are writers out there and you write a couple paragraphs, you go to bed, you go back the next day, you edit it, you change it, you improve upon it. And sometimes you just have to keep it. Okay, I'm going to keep that paragraph, that chapter, move on. It's the same with martial arts. You guys know this. When you go to a class and you forget what you did the next day, you wake up with a bruise, and you go back and you revisit it and you learn from it. This is the process of learning and always trying to be a bit better than we were yesterday. That is living. That's always saying, living is learning. Living is seeing our errors and eventually moving on from them and becoming more experienced, and that's the fun of life. Again, thank you guys for joining me. I know you have a million other things you could be doing. I can't tell you how much I enjoy you sitting here and listening to me drone on about these stupid things. Thank you. I love spending time doing this because I don't always get to answer people's questions. Here's one. I disagree that kuji isn't real. I believe it is true, or they would not have written it down. I would throw questions back at you. If you write something down, does that make it true? What do you guys think about that? If you write something down in history, does that mean it's true? Does the loser of a battle get to write the history, or only the winners? Do you believe if there are 10,000 different religions out there and they have a Bible or books about the religion, are they all true? Is everything written down true? If someone writes that kuji is real or ninja magic is real, is it true because it's written down? Is The Lord of the Rings and J.R.R. Tolkien true because he wrote it? Does Rivendell exist because it is written? Of course not. Common sense says question everything. Be skeptical. Don't believe everything that is told to you, taught to you, or written down. Especially in history, there's two sides to everything. The winner of the war writes history. The loser of the war writes a different history. We write things down to inspire, to document things in history, but a lot of it is not real, and of course some is. You wrote here, I believe kuji is true, or they would not have written it down. I am of the opinion that kuji is not real. It is real in a sense that the finger entwining, the mantras, the mudras, if they give you inspiration and remind you of strength and unity and power, and it inspires you to go through life, to overcome your fears and to overcome an obstacle, kuji is real. If you think and you read that the ninja could disappear and become invisible and change the weather and affect the sleeping process of the king who's 5 valleys away because you held this mudra. And you could summon 9 warriors on the battlefield in front of you as ghosts, and they would fight for you. I would say there's some mental illness going on there, and that is not real. I would need proof and evidence of that. I have to interpret kuji in the time it was written, with the science that was back then, with the belief systems and the cultures and the religions of the time. Kuji in the 21st century. If you want to believe that it's magical, go for it. If that helps you in life and lets you sleep at night, I am 100% for you learning it. Do I believe that kuji, in the sense of anime and manga and movies, is real? Absolutely not. I believe it is not real. I have studied it ad nauseum for decades, and it did and does bring me some satisfaction, and sometimes I have to gather my thoughts and become one when I'm afraid of something, when I'm going into something, and I try to summon the ancestors of old. Go for it. Then it becomes real to me. But to profess it and say it'll work for you is false and dishonest and not true. So you see how gray this can be and unblack and white it can be. If it works for you, use it. It's each to his own is the mantra. Each to his own. Can you please describe a typical class for your older students? I am interested in joining your dojo. This is from Max in Cleveland. Well, Max, if you're interested in joining our dojo, you're going to have to travel 250 miles from Cleveland to Mason, Ohio, where our dojo is. Ohio, people don't know the size of the state. It's huge. Cleveland is way up in the northeastern section of Ohio by the Great Lakes. Cincinnati, which is fairly close to us, is about 25 miles away, is southwest Ohio. Ohio is a big state. A lot of people don't understand that. They say, oh, well, you're in Ohio, I can come see you. Well, Ohio's massive. It's huge. If you want to come to our dojo, you are more than welcome. Anyone watching, you can move to Mason, Ohio, get a job here and train at our dojo. Everyone is welcome from all different walks of life, all ages, all different styles. If you want to upload your life, uplift your roots, and move to Ohio to train full-time with us, you may. I did that with my teacher. I moved 1,000 miles when I was in my 20s, uprooted my entire life, bit the bullet, saved the money, and moved to train full-time with my teacher. Everyone has that ability. I get people all the time emailing, calling, asking to move, and guess how many actually do it? Very, very few. 1 out of about 100 people will actually follow through with what they said and do what we call sanmitsu. They will do their act of following through. Most people get excited about the thought, the dream of moving, but they will not do the required work that it takes to actually make that dream come to fruition. If you want to come train in our dojo and you live in Cleveland, you are going to have to move 300 miles southwest and get a job in an apartment here and train like everybody else. Describe a class for our older students. They are exactly like the classes for our younger students. Everybody does the same thing. If you are an older person training in the martial arts, you have to adapt it to your body, your age, all of this. But we don't have separate classes for older people. Whether you're 25 or 85, you do the same movements, you do the same target drills, the same ukemi, everything's the same. So you are welcome, whatever age you are, Max. I don't know what age you are, but you're going to have to drive 3 hours to get to us and then drive 3 hours back if you're going to do a long distance type of training, which you're welcome to do. We have people that are from Indiana and Kentucky and drive 1-2 hours each way for a 1-hour class here, and it's worth it. You're going to have to relocate if you want to train in the martial art that you desire. Vexing Girl 99. Do you take super chats or donations? I want to see your content continue. It keeps me sane and happy. Thank you, Vexen Girl. I appreciate that. We appreciate that. We don't have super chats. We don't have donations on our channel. Everything is free to you guys. It's going to continue to be. I don't need the money. I don't need super chats or donations. Keep your money and put it toward your training. Put it toward your next weapon you want to invest in or paying your bills. We don't need your money here at the dojo. We're going to continue to give things away free. All this content is free. We make very, very little money off of YouTube. It's not about the money. I make enough money from my music. I have 30-something albums that are giving me money from songs that I wrote 30 years ago. I don't have to worry about that stuff. I have this school because I love it. I don't take hardly any paycheck from this dojo. The students pay their tuition every month, which runs the dojo. It is self-sustaining over several years. Most dojos don't have that luxury. Most dojos, the teacher, the sensei, is putting his or her money to pay the rent, to pay the bills. And I encourage you to support your local dojos wherever they are. If you have, say, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school that is not paying the rent because COVID is taking their student base away, and you have $50 extra, give it to that person and say, hey, let's put this toward the heating bill, the AC bill. Please do that. Donate to your local dojos rather than putting money toward me or our dojo here. Keep it for yourself. However, the thought is greatly appreciated, and Vexing Girl 99, I really appreciate. Just because you are watching, you are part of our community. The fact that you are subscribed and that you might like a video or comment and interact is enough. That's enough. That is enough for everybody. Thank you for that. Bucky Mary, what are you dudes working on in classes at the dojo lately? Do you have assigned lessons that you teach? Yes, we have a curriculum book. As I said before, last night we were outside working with the 6-foot bow, the Rokushaku bow. We worked on several katas with the long staff. It was awesome. To be outside, take your mask off, and train with 20 other people and learn how to use this bow against other weapons is so much fun. There's so much to learn about timing and distancing. And when you work with weapons like big pole arms, it so much improves your unarmed combat. It just levels it up like you wouldn't believe. Plus, it's so much fun to get outdoors in the fresh air, the sun beating down on you, the wind blowing through your hair, when people have hair, and just learning and laughing and having fun and experiencing that cool May evening with your friends. It's worth $1 million. What else do we do? In our regular classes last night, we did hook punch defenses, multiple punches. We did some ukemi, stretching. We did a talk. We do talks occasionally, especially with the youth students, about how negative gossip affects your life and how you don't want to gossip about other people because it shows your weakness. Often we gossip about people when we're jealous or envious, and we often gossip with people because we want to feel part of a tribe or a group. And when you're making fun of someone who is outside your group, it kind of makes you feel better. It makes you feel like you're not going to be ostracized or pushed out because you're picking on them. It's a tribalism. It's them versus us. And it's a really horrible way to go through life. It's never going to bring happiness or joy long term. We were talking about cyber gossiping, how people will comment or text and say mean things about people because it makes them feel better temporarily when their life is actually very sad, or they're angry or frustrated, or they don't know how to communicate. So they lash out at other people and make fun of them because they're different. And we know that that's not a good way to go through life. So we just talked about that to remind us that when we gossip or we small talk or we speak ill of people, we will catch ourselves and say, hey, this isn't a good way to go through life, and just kind of stop it because it's a bad habit. We also did a hook kick. We did the kagi geri, where we learned how to use our foot to hook kick the opponent's groin. Or we worked from the ground last night. We worked on how to wrap up somebody's hips and legs if you're on your back and they're coming towards you, how to stop them and take down the opponent using your legs against theirs. That was something we worked on. There's so many things every night. To be honest with you guys, it bleeds. Because I'm here so much every day, I often can't remember what we did 2-3 days ago because no two classes are alike. They're always different. It's impossible for me to remember a technique from 5 days ago because we're doing it so much. But we do have a curriculum book that we stick to. However, we will vary from that curriculum book if a student asks a question or the class structure changes depending on who's in class, what level are we working with, how old are our students. If someone is frustrated about something and they raise their hand, can you help me with this? Then the class completely changes to address that issue and serve that student's needs. My job as a teacher, my number one job is to serve the students' needs and answer their questions to the best of my ability. And often that does not fall into the structure of the curriculum. A couple more things before we finish. I wanted to show you this. This is from my friend Sean Askew and I think it's his wife Kay. Look at this beautiful Hanko stamp that I got from Sean of my warrior name. Look at the beauty of this. This is handmade, I think in Japan. It is marble and it is a lion, like a shishi lion here. I'm sorry if it's not focusing exactly, but it's a stone stamp. This Hanko stamp I use on certificates and things. I use red ink and use stamp here. Beautiful box it came in. If you want to order one of these, go to, I think it's BKRBUDO or BRKBUDO, Sean Askew, Seanaskew, and K are craftspeople. He's a great martial artist. He writes books. He's been around forever, and I can't appreciate enough and thank them enough for this beautiful work of art here, of this Hanko stamp. So thank you for that. This is beautiful. I highly recommend you order something from their website. Please Google that. Let's see. Thank you from Charles. Charles sent me this cool thing here. He sent me this necklace that I think he made, which is really cool. Could wear it as a bracelet. Could wear it as a necklace. I used to wear these for years. We would call them mala beads in Buddhism. When I studied that for several years, when I bodyguarded for the Dalai Lama and other people, we would have these mala beads, and we would use them for meditation. And Catholicism has beads as well. Many people do. When you say mantra or you're breathing, doing meditations, you move the beads to time yourself, and each one of these would represent perhaps a breath, inhalation, exhalation. But Charles sent these cool beads here that he probably crafted. Thank you, sir, for those. He also sent me this sling, which you could use for you Davy and Goliaths out there if you wanted to shoot someone with a sling. Beautiful here. It's hard to see. Sorry about that. I don't know if I'll be slinging any bullets at any creatures, but this would be a cool weapon for the Witcher. But thank you, Charles. I appreciate your craftsmanship, and thank you. I'm sorry I forgot who sent me this. I do know the name, and I did send a thank you note. This beautiful holder for a tanto knife or a sword. This katana kake here, sword stand. Looks handcrafted, and it looks old. I don't think this is new. I think this is very, very old. Very beautiful wood here. There are many of these you can find online. Not unique like this, but thank you for whoever, forgive me, sent me this. I really appreciate that. That is awesome. And I will put something beautiful on that stand. It kind of sits here. You can see it holds. You could even use it for incense or something. Beautiful. Thank you guys for those gifts. I do appreciate that stuff. So what's next for us? The sword giveaway is next week, so go back a video or two if you want that sword. Make sure you type in "I want that sword" in the comments. We're going to give that away. Next month, I've already know what we're going to give away for June. Something really literally quote-unquote cool we're going to give away. We thank you guys for watching all the time. Your support by watching the channel is greatly appreciated. Our goal here is to give those of you who don't have access to training or martial arts or a dojo just a small glimpse of what we do here at the dojo. Any video that we put out you're only seeing a small snippet, but we appreciate your time, your viewership, your comments, your subscription. All of these things keep us as a positive martial art community together. We are all going through hard times. I can't tell you how difficult it is training with a mask on. We can't wait to get rid of these. As soon as we can, we will, because I'm telling you, to do 30 push-ups, to get up and roll with ukemi for 20 minutes while wearing this thing, oh my gosh, talk about being a warrior to try to get through that when you're not getting the full oxygen that we need. We're trying to do our part here, and I've been vaccinated already, and I want to get rid of these things as quick as we can. We can't stand them. We will get rid of them very soon, hopefully in the next month or two. Our Zoom classes are stopping the end of this month. We had a lot of people doing Zoom. We've been doing Zoom for 15 months now. Our dojo closed for 6 weeks back in March of 2020, but luckily we went back into action full-time in, I think, May of last year. We've been going. We've never stopped. I can't tell you how lucky we are to have been continuously training. Most of my friends, almost all, have lost their dojos. They're not training. They have not stepped on the mats in over a year. I can't tell you how lucky we are and fortunate that we have not done that. We have continued to train and get better and better over the last year. We are down to less than 1% of our student base on Zoom. Everybody's getting healthier. The numbers are going down, thank goodness. They're being vaccinated. They are bored at being at home, and we are stopping the Zoom classes. So no more Zoom or online classes. Hopefully we will not go back to those, because you cannot learn the same watching a screen as you can being on the mat. Those people who are on Zoom classes, I salute you. You did such a good job at staying focused and on task being at home. And I can't tell you how difficult it is to do 100 reps at home by yourself in your basement sweating out. It's much easier to be here on the mat. But those classes stop in the next 2 weeks. With good fortune, we will not have to return. Hopefully this pandemic, the worst is behind us. Some countries are going up in numbers, but the U.S. in general is going down. I can't wait to have this over with and a bad chapter in our life where we can train without these and with new people in our dojos around the world. I hope that wherever you live, you are dealing with whatever you have to deal with strength and dignity, and you understand and have perspective on life, that we continue to be grateful for what we have instead of complaining about what we don't have. We are doing the necessary actions in our life to maintain our health and our joy and our happiness. We are letting go of things that make us upset, angry, or stress. We are finding ways to deal with the sadness of life, and we are just enjoying each and every day and night that we are given. That is a good way to end this video. I can't wait to see you and meet you one day in person, wherever we may meet. Until next time, my friends, thank you for joining me. I wish you the best in your life and your dojo. Have a great day. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.